to East West Seed Foundation's Urban Gardening Webinar Series. In this webinar series, we will teach you how you can grow your own healthy, nutritious food at home. My name is Joyce, and in today's episode, we will be sharing composting and vermicomposting that you can do at home. Here's something to remember. We don't feed the plants, we feed the soil. Thus, the key to have flourishing plants would be to have a fertile soil. Feeding the soil means that we enrich it with organic matter or compost. Of the many elements the plant needs, only 3 elements are readily available to plants. These 3 elements are air, sunlight, and water that provides 10% of the nutrition a plant needs. Vegetables and flowers derive more than 90% of its nutrition entirely from the soil. In simple terms, compost is decomposed organic matter. Organic matter is anything that was once living, was part of something living, or was produced by something living. Making and using compost is the cornerstone of gardening, especially organic gardening. The finished product is rich, dark, crumbly, and sweet-smelling. It is made of recycled garden and kitchen waste and can also include paper products. Benefits of composting are: it enriches soil, helping retain moisture and suppress plant diseases and pests. Adding compost can improve soil structure, nutrient retention and drainage. It provides nutrition for plants. It encourages the production of beneficial bacteria and fungi that break down organic matter to create humus, a rich nutrient-filled material. It is eco-friendly, as it lessens disposable garbage, reduces methane emission from landfills, and lowers your carbon footprint. Compostable items are generally broken down into 2 categories: the greens and the browns. Greens are high in nitrogen and moisture. They are quick to break down, which helps your compost pile heat up. And because they are wet, they keep your pile from drying out. Greens also provide protein for microorganisms who turn scraps to dirt. Browns provide structure and support to your compost and are a carbon-rich food source for organisms in the compost. Without slow decaying browns, all the green items would form a dense, wet clump, prone to mold and anaerobic bacteria. By adding browns, you allow air to permeate the pile and keep it healthy. Although there are a ton of things that are great for composting, there are a few things you should never put in your compost pile. Animal-based proteins like meat and bones should never be composted because they can attract unwanted critters to your pile and also risk introducing pathogens. Tea and coffee bags. Although you can put tea leaves and coffee grounds in, the bags are often made of synthetic material that won't decompose properly. You can remove the tea and coffee from synthetic bags and include in your compost. Dog and cat poop, because their waste could contain harmful microorganisms and parasites. Fats, grease, lard or oils, and dairy products, as it may cause odor problems and pests. Charcoal ash, as it may contain substances harmful to plants. Yard trimmings treated with pesticides, as it might kill composting organisms. When it comes to the house of composting, you have a few options depending on space, location, and need. Composting is absolutely possible for everyone, even if you just keep a small bin under your kitchen cabinet. Aerobic means with air, and aerobic composting is the method which makes use of oxygen-requiring microorganisms to help break down the materials quickly. the compost is open to the air. During the process, the moisture evaporates, so you may need to add water from time to time. Also, remember to turn it every few days and leave lots of space in composter so there is enough air circulation for even decomposition. Anaerobic means without air, and anaerobic composting uses a covered composting bin. Just collect scraps of green and brown waste into a container. Cover with a lid and store until the contents turn black. There is no noticeable odor because of the cover. In kitchen composting, we applied the anaerobic composting process using a small container with a lid that can be kept in the kitchen or somewhere indoors. First step in kitchen composting is to choose a spot as well as the container to be used. A plastic container with a lid, like an ice cream tub, is a good way to start. Set the container where you normally cut and clean your vegetables and place the scrap material and peels directly into the tub. You can put large pieces directly into the tub, or you may wish to chop it into smaller pieces for faster decomposition. Once the container becomes full, cover it with lid, then write the date on top of the lid. This way, you can count the days from where you sealed it. When the contents turn black, your compost is ready to use. In the kitchen, open another plastic tub and continue to save your kitchen scraps. Once you've done in your composting, you can add it to the soil whenever you want. Compost offers numerous advantages, with the biggest one being it can improve all types of soil. You can add it to soil mixture before planting. Compost boosts water retention in soil, which means the plant will need less watering. It is also best alternative to synthetic fertilizers, as it introduces beneficial microorganisms to the soil and improves soil aeration. You can use compost as mulch, spreading it around the base of your plant. This will provide nutrition while preventing weeds from appearing. Lastly, you can also use compost as material for vermicomposting. Now that we have made our compost, we can take the next step for even better quality nutrition for our plants through vermicomposting. Vermicomposting uses worms to break down the organic material, and those little creatures actually do most of the constant lifting and aerating. Red worms, also called African nightcrawler or ANC, are perfect for the job because they constantly feed on food scraps and any organic matter from your kitchen and garden that you feed to them. Vermicomposting produces vermicast, an organic and nutritious fertilizer for your plants. Benefits of worm composting are: the nutrient-rich fertilizer compost is fantastic for the soil, richer than compost, and your plants will thank you for it. It's fun for kids. A healthy vermiculture is incredibly interesting to observe. It's inexpensive to set up. It's eco-friendly, and you will save on buying fertilizer for your plants. In establishing an indoor worm composting bin, you will need the following: worm bin and cover, worms, African nightcrawler, compost from kitchen waste, cow, carabao, or goat manure. For the worm bin, it's better to start small. You may use a rectangular container of at least 6 inches deep with a dimension of around 8 inches by 17 inches. For the worm bin cover, any opaque material can be used. This is to avoid exposure to light. Examples of these materials are plastic, paper, black plastic bag. It's best to remember that the worm bin cover need not to be airtight, as a little air is needed by the worms. The African nightcrawler is recognized as the most effective and efficient worms to use in a worm bin. This is a one-time investment as the worms can multiply more than double in population every month. You can use the same compost you collected from kitchen waste about 4 weeks old. This is to ensure the heating up of the compost is over. Otherwise, the heat generated during composting can cook the worms. Just remember not to include anything sour, onions, or any oil. The worms don't like these and can jump out of the worm bin if these are included. To ensure sufficient nutrient content in your vermicast, augment your compost with aged and dried cow, carabao, or goat manure. The ideal mixture is equal amounts of compost and manure. If the compost or manure is too wet, pre-dry before mixing. Mix the compost and dung together. We want a moist but not too wet mixture for the worms. Otherwise, the vermicast will not be easy to gather. It's time to fill the worm bin. Fill the selected worm bin with the compost and manure mixture. Just place the worms on top of the bin, and they will quickly burrow down. The worms don't like light and quickly hide from it. After some time, you will notice your compost is turning into fine grains on top, like chocolate sprinkles. The vermicast is deposited by the worms on top, so convenient for partial harvesting. You can scrape off the fine grains or vermicast with a spoon. This vermicast can be used immediately on your plants. As you harvest the vermicast, the level of your compost bin is slowly reduced. When only about 2 inches is left from the bottom, gather the remaining compost and worm from one side and place on top of the other side. A piece of plastic in the bottom of the bin can make this transfer easier. Refill the empty side of the bin with new compost mixture. In this way, there is no need to separate the worms when harvesting. The worms will transfer on their own to the new food. Continue to harvest the vermicast that is formed on the top. Harvesting will be faster or slower depending on the number of worms working for you and the size of the worm bin. You can repeat this process of refilling anytime the compost level drops to below 2 inches on the either side. We want to keep the worm bed moist but not wet, so spray lightly when needed. Some final tips on worm care. The worms won't leave the bin unless they run out of food or they don't like the food. If they jump out, change the food. The worms don't like daylight or sunlight. They prefer the dark, so keep them covered. Worms can drown, so protect against rain or ensure proper drainage on the worm bin. They don't like being moved. After transferring to one side, they may not produce vermicast for 2 to 3 days. They don't like loud noises, so keep them where it is relatively quiet. If there are too many worms in the worm bin, share extras with friends and family, or release some along with vermicast around plants in containers. As long as there is organic material, they will continue to thrive and make more fertilizer. How to use vermicast? Similar to kitchen compost, you may use it as sowing medium for better germination. You may add to soil mixture when planting, or you may use it on top of the soil for plant nutrition. Together with Mr. Yoshida Toshimichi, let's all work together for sustainable agriculture that produces healthier soil, healthier vegetables, and healthier people. Thanks for joining us in this webinar series, and we hope that you learned a lot. Please like and follow our FB page to get updates. To learn more about East West Seeds vegetable varieties, please download CropWiki EWS app on Google Play or Apple App Store. You can now order high-quality vegetable seeds online from the comfort of your home. Visit East West Seeds official Lazada store today. Bye for now!